Our paper is on testing dynamic incentive compatibility in display ad auctions. We consider a dynamic auction market that consists of a seller, for example the ad exchange, and multiple buyers. The items arrive online and they must be sold once they arrive. From the perspective of a single buyer, after she evaluates the newly arrived item, she will come up with her valuation. Based on her valuation, she then submits the bid to the ad exchange. After collecting the buyer's bids, the exchange will determine whether the buyer wins the item and how much she should pay. In the next stage, the second item arrives, the buyer again learns her valuation and submits a bid. After receiving the buyer's second bid, based on the information of the first stage and the buyer's second bid, the exchange decides the winner and the payment for the second stages. And the process keeps going for the future stages. However, in such an auction system, it's said that the bidding record and the history of outcomes are public information, the buyer's valuations are private information, and the mechanism used by the exchange is usually opaque like a black box. As a buyer, the task of deciding how to bid in this system is complicated. To alleviate such a problem, usually the ad exchange may encourage the buyer to submit a true valuation by claiming that doing so is of the buyer's best interest, a property known as incentive compatibility. If the claim is true, then the bidding strategy is simple for the buyer, just submit how she values the item. However, is the claim true? Especially when the ad exchange was like a black box from the perspective of the buyer. In fact, there are two practices that may violate the incentive compatibility. One is dynamic reserves, where past bids are used to set present reserve prices. To obtain a lower reserve for the buyer, underbidding might be a better strategy. Another case is called throttling, in which the exchange may decline to consider bidders with historically low bids. For the buyer to increase her chance to participate in an auction, overbidding might be a better strategy. Our paper aims at designing testing method to verify whether the auction is dynamic incentive compatible. More precisely, is it optimal for the buyer to submit her valuation truthfully all the time? In our paper, you will see a systematic way for testing dynamic incentive compatibility. We introduce two defining properties for dynamic incentive compatibility. One is stage incentive compatibility, which means that all stages should be incentive compatible in isolation. The other one is utility independence, which means that the expected utility for each stage should be independent of past bids. We show that these two properties jointly characterize dynamic incentive compatibility. We then develop novel statistical tests for testing stage incentive compatibility and for testing utility independence. The combination of them provides us a toolbox for testing dynamic incentive compatibility. We evaluate our tests on display ad data from Google Ad Exchange.